This is the first video in a short video series I'm going to do on cell signaling. Cell signaling is a huge area of research now, and it has been for a while in different fields of molecular biology, cell biology, genetics, cancer research, research in various diseases, because it's very important to understand how cells communicate with each other. There are three main types of cell signaling, and they are autocrine, paracrine, and endocrine. Each one of these is a method of communication that cells use to communicate with each other or even with itself. So the first type, if you can imagine, let's do three cells here, and they're in close proximity to one another, and we're not going to draw, maybe we'll draw the nucleus as well, and there. So in this type of signaling, we are going to have a signal that is being sent out of this cell right here, and it's actually going to be taken in by receptors on the same cell. So you have these little tiny receptors, and they're going to actually receive the signal and then cause an intracellular response based on this extracellular signaling. So the signal is released from this cell and received by the same cell. In paracrine signaling, I'm going to draw this actually as a neuron because this is a common type of paracrine signaling. So this is the postsynaptic terminal, and this is the presynaptic terminal. So you can think of this as the synapse and this as the dendrite of a new neuron. So this is how chemicals actually, chemicals get, or electrical signals get turned into chemical signals and then transform back into chemical signals, and how all of our neurons, which are cells in the brain or the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, communicate. So a signal will come down here, it'll be transformed, it'll be processed in these little vesicles that fuse with the membrane, and then they get released into this little cleft, and they get received by receptors that are on the presynaptic membrane of the next cell, and then they get taken in, and in a neuron, a signal can either be turned into a negative response or an action potential, or a positive response, which is an action potential. So the membrane potential will get more positive, so you'd have an influx of ions like sodium, and potassium would be leaving the cell, and we can get into that in a different video, but you basically have this spike that looks like this, and then it would continue on and retain its equilibrium potential. The final type of cell signaling that I'm going to talk about in this video is endocrine signaling. So we have a cell here, and let's draw a cell way down here. Okay, and in the between these two cells we have this blood vessel. So it's traveling quite a ways down. Let's pretend that this is a signal in the brain, and this is a signal in your liver, or a cell in your liver, sorry. So you would have this signal here, signaling molecule that would travel, go into this, and travel down this vein or artery. And it will come and be received by, once again, receptors that look kind of like this on the extracellular membrane, and taken into the cell, or not even taken into the cell. Usually they will bind to a receptor, so this is called a ligand, and it will bind to this receptor, and the receptor will cause an intracellular response based on GPCRs and other types of kinases, which I will get into in more videos, which is the more complicated side of cell signaling. But this is kind of a basic overview of the three different types of cell signaling that we're going to talk about, and we're actually going to talk about how these signals get relayed from this extracellular ligand or chemical and get turned into a chemical response on the inside of the cell.